Hey, hello and welcome to the channel. So for today's video, like it's gonna be obvious for the title, of course, as per usual, we're gonna be talking about Monday the movie, which is a movie that's starred in by Denise Gough and Sebastian. And it is a movie that I have been anticipating a whole lot, and I watched it over the weekend, and I really loved it. So I want to talk about it. Okay, so before we start, I'm gonna be doing the part in which I tell you if the movie's worth it, and then I'm gonna go ahead and just talk my spoiler review about it because there's a whole bunch of things that I want to talk and I want to just develop them in context. So coming from the part of the non-spoiler review of it, I really love the movie. It's a very raw take on life, and it is something that you can even see throughout it, even in the filmography of it. Filmography? No, that's not the correct word. Yeah, well, the way in which the movie is filmed, which I cannot find the correct word now, because yeah, I'm a mess. Um, Anyways, the way in which the movie is filmed, it is very beautiful because it has this whole bunch of takes that are very common to life. You know, they make you feel like you're in a normal day, even though the movie comes from the point that it is an adventure somehow. It is a very grounded adventure. Like this shot of Chloe, which is the main character, that she's just walking through the street and there's people working in the back, you know, and I just loved how that went by because that was a beautiful thing to see. And also the relationship that is developed throughout the story, it's pretty awesome and I really liked it. So basically, if you're planning on watching the movie, it is a worth watch because it is a beautiful movie. Even for me, which like I hate romantic movies, and I really liked it because it's not just about romance. That's the great thing about it. Another thing that you have to know is that you gotta get comfortable with the nudity in the movie. And I'm just gonna tell you one thing and one thing only, is that if I see anyone body shaming these people, I'm gonna come for you all. That as simple as it gets. I'm gonna come for you all because I've already seen negative comments on it, and I cannot believe that people are that screwed up to be like that. So you know, I'm gonna come for you people. So don't you dare body shame these people because that's a shitty thing to do. So leaving that behind, it is a worth watch. Please, if you haven't yet, go and watch the movie because it tells a very beautiful story. I mean, if you have seen the trailer, you can pretty much guess what it is about, so I'm not gonna tell you. But just do it. Now, we're coming to the spoiler section of the review, which is pretty much me just telling you what the movie is about and talking about it, so we're gonna go through that. Okay, there is no kidding in saying that I'm watching this movie because of Sebastian, which is like, it is mandatory that I watch his movies because I love the guy, so I have to. But I just got a big surprise with it. Anyways, so this guy has these. Sebastian basically makes me either love his characters completely, like I love Mickey, who is from this movie, or like I hate some others, you know, I mean like Frank, for example. But, but well, we're gonna get to that throughout the story. The movie starts in a party, and this is something that happens a lot throughout the story, that they are partying and all of these things, and it has a very interesting take on music as well, which is that the music of this movie is important. I haven't paid much attention to it yet because I haven't listened to the soundtrack, which I'm gonna do later probably, because it has pretty nice soundtrack as far as I've seen. So that's it. So we are introduced to Chloe, and Chloe is just having a call with a guy that's a total jerk, because he is, and well, she's just having a bad time while she's at a party. So well, and then we get introduced to Mickey through a shot of him. He's a DJ. Chloe is a lawyer. A terrible combination. Terrific, let's say it. Um, it is very interesting because of that, because it was an interesting take on like how people perceive lawyers, because normally like in TV and places like that, they are like either super criminal people, or they're like the most boring person you can encounter. But Chloe, since the moment she came on screen, I totally loved her. I mean, like, first of all, Denise did an amazing job at portraying her, so we gotta give big applause to her because of that. It's just because of that, because she was awesome throughout the entirety of the story. She was, I think, that the first highlight of it. Yeah, coming from me, who's in love with Seb, and I watch everything he's in because I'm in love with him and blah 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 and all the thing, chit chat and all. She was a highlight of this movie. She was incredible. Anyways, so they get together because one of their friends, I don't remember the name, I watched before and I don't actually pay attention a lot to the names unless it's the main characters, because yeah. Anyways, it doesn't matter. We're at a party in Greece. I was forgetting that we're in Greece, which is a very important detail. So yeah, we're partying in Greece, and the two main characters are Americans. So well, Chloe, lawyer, American. Mickey, DJ, American. Very much American, if I might add. And well, they're a party and they get introduced because Mickey was looking over at Chloe, and they were like, oh yeah, she's American, come meet her and all of that. So they're introduced and all of that. So Mickey tries to flirt for like 1 second and she kisses him. So we didn't have to wait long for anything to happen, which is actually nice. Actually nice. Which is kind of crazy, because it is one of these things in which you realize, yeah, you don't have to just make it difficult, just do it. As simple as that, just do it. And it is, I think that the entirety of the movie has sort of that undertone of just seize the moment, and do the things that you feel like you want to do, because everything's gonna be all right, no matter what you do. I mean, like, things usually work out at the end, which it's pretty much how life works in general. So I really like the idea that the movie in general had that on it. That's great. So well, basically they get out of the party, they go to the beach, then they wake up naked on the beach, and they get taken to the police precinct, because nudity and all that, which is hilarious to me. Anyways, that happens. She forgot her purse at the party, so basically she cannot go back home. Also, there's another thing, that she is actually thinking of packing to go back to America because she got a new job in Chicago. So she basically has to pack for that. So basically Chloe has to pack, but she doesn't have the keys to her apartment, so Mickey is all like, yeah, come, let me take you to another party. So they go to an island, to a party, and all of that. He's supposed to be the DJ of this party. And then he meets a guy that tells him that later it's gonna come another DJ and take over. Which is, poor boy. And that's a sort of a silent development that we see throughout the movie, how he feels shunned out by other people in the things that he does, That's a very interesting thing, because like I tell you, it is a silent development, and it has to do a lot with one thing that they say later, that he cannot live if he's only happy when his life is a mess, um, which is interesting actually. That accounted for a very strong scene in which I was like, oh, there's so much depth in that silence. But well, before we go get into all of that, let me go. Another thing that I have to point out is that the entirety of the movie is told through Friday, through to Friday. Like that's the whole point of the movie. They start on Friday, they go through the weekend, things happen, all of that. So this is happening on a weekend. Well, they go to a party, they screw a whole lot, and they learn a bunch of things about each other. Obviously, Mickey is a DJ, he learns that she's a lawyer, the things that they do for work, how she feels about going back to America. They have a little discussion about that, and, well, they actually made a make-up later. Details. But one thing of importance that we learn about them, about Mickey in particular, is that he has a son named Hector, and that he cannot see his son, although that he actually wants to, but Hector's mom doesn't let him for reasons which are pretty much established throughout the entirety of the story, which to which I, from a point of view of a woman who's a mother, I understand her very much. But we always left on that thing of, yeah, moms don't let their the guys see their children, and that's a pretty messed up thing. But yeah, it's a two-way path, and you have to pay attention to everything on that, because there's always two sides to a story. And even though, like, I feel for Mickey, being able to see his son, there has to be reasons, and there are reasons for it, which are understandable. Yeah, we'll later get on that. Well, we learn this. This is a thing. Yeah. In that same conversation, Chloe goes around and just has this little thing, of saying that she's like all the time asking herself, what the fuck am I doing? And she asks Mickey if he feels any way like that, and he tells her that he doesn't. Uh, that just things are like that way, and that's a very interesting contrast. Like, Chloe is all the time wondering what's happening around her and what she's doing, how this is gonna reflect on her life later, and all of that. And Mickey is quite a guy that lives in the moment. He doesn't care about much, but he actually really, really cares. Deep down, he cares, and he just doesn't voice it out. So that's a pretty interesting take on them. Anyways, things happen. They part ways for like a second. Anyway, so we get the typical scene of, oh my god, I'm gonna go and just run after you at the airport, and they do. And this is, dude, I hate this totally, because I'm just so tired. But I love the placement of this trope, because it didn't happen at the end of the movie. No, we actually got to see it like pretty much at the start, because he goes like, no, Chloe, don't go. And it's just a nice scene that you can actually see on the trailers. And because it happened like really, really early, it just made sense. And it was so hurtful, because it's just like when Mickey just gets there, he's like stopped by policemen, and there's just a fraction of second in which there is a smile that Seth does, which was the cutest thing ever. And I was just like, oh my god, that just made the scene. But not only that, but the fact that it was a correct placement for it, because there was a whole story to develop after that. And that's what I like to see, because usually movies just focus too much on how they meet and how they fall in love, but they never tell you the reality of the story that happens later. They never tell you the problems and all of that. No, it's just like meet cute and all of that, and oh, we fell in love and now it's happily ever after. And this movie didn't do that. It's not happily ever after, because even though that they have a good relationship, there's a whole bunch of things that they have to work on. And that's why I'm so happy that the placement of this trope, that oh my god, I'm gonna run to you at the airport and profess my love and all that. He doesn't profess his love, but he he looks for her, it just happened in the at the right time, and I'm so happy that it did. I'm so happy. So basically, we jump to another Friday. We jump to a Friday that it's Chloe's birthday, which is nice, and we get to meet people. We get to meet Bastian, which is another DJ, and we learn that she is part of Mickey's past present as well, because she's a friend of hers, of his. She's a friend of his. She's actually pretty cool, and they used to have a band together. And what she tells throughout this story is that they were actually pretty great, and they got the chance to make a record, go on tour, and a whole bunch of things. And then what happens? Mickey just put up an excuse and just got out. And she tells him in that moment that yeah, it's because you're not happy unless your life is crumbling or something like that. Well, and that is such an interesting take on the character, because he seems to be this guy that doesn't care about shit, but turns out to be that he has a whole bunch of problems inside that he never voices out. I mean, like, he's always happy and doing crap, and he's like the life of the party, because he's a DJ. So he's like putting music for people to be happy, and he's always dancing and he's having a good time. But deep down, you know that he's going through a path that is just like hard, that he's hard on himself, and you can see that throughout the story. And then later, after this conversation happens and all of it, we get to see Chloe asking him if that is true, and he goes like, no. So she turns around and keeps on sleeping, while we get this shot of him basically just laid down there, just watching. And he's like, and in that moment I was like, you are fucking lying. And you can tell that he's lying because he's actually thinking about it. It was a beautiful shot, and like I tell you, there was a power in that silence, because sometimes people say a lot when they are being silent, and that's such a thing to see. Well, to say something, Chloe is actually already living with him and all of the thing. So throughout this moment, we are just put into a place in which they are basically working from home, like she's just tending to a new client, and Mickey's kind of doing the same but with music, just creating a commercial, I think. And it's very loud and all of that. But what we are introduced into this Friday is that she is the first scene of this Friday is that she's vomiting, and I was like, yeah, fuck, she's definitely pregnant. Like, there's no way. So she doesn't tell Mickey. She gets a pregnancy test, and then we jump to a scene, and I'm jumping because there are a whole bunch of things in between, but we basically jump to this scene of her on a clinic, and she's getting ready to get an abortion. And this is a very hard thing to watch from a standpoint that she went through it all alone, and this is a very traumatic experience for women to go through, and my heart goes out to her and to every woman that ever had to go alone through this, because you should never. I mean, like, I hope that if this happens to you, that if you have no other choice than to have to take an abortion and all of this, I hope that you never go through it alone, because the risk of it and how much it hurts the body, how much it hurts after it happens, and all these things. I mean, like, I'm not talking about personal experience. I'm talking because I know that it is a hard thing that women go through, and like what I've seen throughout, I mean, like, it is super hard to experience. So if you ever, or if you know someone who's going through something like this, I hope that no one has to go through that alone, because it is, like I said, very hard. And my heart goes out to Chloe and the women that have been in the position of Chloe. That it's just, yeah, bullshit, bullshit. It was a very sad thing to watch, because she couldn't tell Mickey, and then she goes up at home and she has to lie to him because she cannot tell him and all that, because she made the decision on her own and she didn't know. But I also understand her, because they were pretty much starting up with their relationship, and she didn't know if things will work out in the end, if he was kind of like the person that you will have a child with, um, because he's having problems with his own child. So you never know. So I don't know, hard scene to watch. Um, well, I'm jumping places because there are things that I probably don't remember, that probably don't need to be talked about. But well, we've got these various scenes in which, well, we're introduced to Hector's mother, which is uh, Mickey's son, and we're introduced to her because Chloe goes to talk to her. I'm mixing up pronouns like a bitch today. Like, I don't know why. Anyway, she goes to talk to her, and this woman, she's a Greek woman, so she's actually quite aggressive. Not so much, but she's somehow. So she's super pissed off, basically, at Mickey, because in her eyes, Mickey is a jerk. Which, if you have seen this movie throughout until this point, Mickey's not so much of a jerk. I mean, like, he's this kind of like free soul that just goes around and just lives day by day and does the things that he wants to do. And when he wants to screw someone, he screws with someone, and just he's just out there living like that. That's what his character is all about, and he doesn't have that many worries to the outside world, but these things actually eat him on the inside. So we have a whole bunch of that. And well, so we get introduced to Hector's mom, and she's talking with Chloe, and well, they're basically discussing how Mickey wants to see his son, so please let him, like all of the things, especially because Chloe is a lawyer, so she wants to help Mickey see Hector again and spend time with him, all of it. So in this scene we get to the point in which well, Hector's mom listens to Chloe speaking Greek, and she makes a face of surprise, in this moment. And I think that that's the thing that sells it for her, because she, after that, she says that Mickey cannot bother to learn to speak Greek to have a conversation with his son, so he has to rely on Hector's understanding of English. And up to that moment, I was like, what? Because I didn't hear Mickey speak a lot in Greek, but I heard him say a few words throughout, which is the thing that actually it had me very confused at a moment, because he's been living in Greece for 7 years. So I was like, how is it possible that this guy only speaks English? So I was questioning from the beginning, because it just makes no sense to me. I mean, like, I learned languages in 2 weeks, so flew it just blows my mind that he didn't he lived for 7 years and he doesn't speak Greek. So I was like, but I heard him speak a few words. I mean, like, most of the interactions he's had up until this moment has been with Chloe. So I was like, how is it? How come he only speaks English? But that's a very American thing to do, if you ask me, because like the only people in the world that I have seen which wouldn't bother to learn someone else's language while they're living in the country is pretty much America. It's very American thing to do. But Chloe is American as well, and she speaks Greek, so I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna categorize people for it, but seems like it. Anyways, so she's pretty much angry with Mickey because he's a man child. He's a man child, and I understand her because he is, and you realize that he is, you know. But he also has a lot of room for growth, you know. He does. After the conversation Chloe has with Hector's mom, she goes back, you know, and she's like asking Mickey, like, the fuck happened here? Like, do you? I asked you to order to make the food, and you didn't do shit. And that's the thing that we see a lot about him. That she's probably gonna ask him to do something and he does it last minute, or he just changes the plans because he forgot or he was caught up in doing something else. And let me tell you one thing, even though this is something that would bother me a lot, I'm actually glad that they did it, because you get, of course, let's get off the story a little bit, because we get a guy like Sebastian Stan to play this character, and he's dreamy, and he's all of these things, you know, like he just looks like I want to marry him. That's simple as it gets. So then you get a guy who's basically just perfect to play a character. And if you make him perfect, like, oh yeah, he's just a perfect boyfriend and all of these, and he, you know, we have great sex, and he cooks beautifully, and he does everything perfect, you know. And if you get that, it's not believable, you know. Especially because in movies in general, you tend to see this guy, which is like, seems like he's perfect, but he is actually a jerk, you know. He has so much problems underneath. But I like the truthness to which they just placed Mickey, because he's a very flawed character. He's a person that has, I don't know, he's probably in his 30s, and he has a whole lot of things to work on still. And I love that, because it's not like you get to your 20s and you've got your life figured out and everything just works out perfectly. Sometimes you're in your 30s, sometimes you're in your 40s, and you don't know what the fuck you want to do with your life still, and you're having a whole bunch of problems, and that happens. That's actually what life is all about. And I love the development of Mickey because of that, because he's a flawed man, you know. He's not like, I mean, like, he seems perfect when you see him and when things happen with him, but he is actually not this guy of, oh yeah, he's so flawless, he can do anything wrong, because he does a whole bunch of things wrong, but he actually gets to learn, you know, and he actually gets to drive through them, and it's very smoothly in the way in which it is put, which is actually something that I get. Also, up to this point, we get Chloe's development. You know, she's a very free woman. Like I said, I like the whole thing of her development because of the fact that she's a lawyer, but she wasn't introduced like, oh yeah, she's this killjoy, you know, that the only thing that knows how to do is speak the law and all of that. No, not at all. Not at all. She's actually great, you know, but she also gets fed up very easily, because she's like, yeah, like, I told you to do something, just do it, fucking do it, because if not, it's always me, the one who has to fix things up, and that's bullshit. And I understand her. I get you, girl. And after a few bunch of things that happen, we get to see that it's another Friday. So we get to see that a lawyer goes by to the house so she can check if everything is on place for Hector to go visit his father, and this sort of things, Um, they have been living together for 6 months up until now, Chloe and Mickey. So they have an established relationship here and there, and da 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 da, and all of that. Hector's room is ready. It has always been ready. So the chat that they have with this lawyer, is basically telling them that there is only one way in which Mickey can see his child, and if it's Chloe, it's with him. Like that's he's the father, but he cannot see his son if Chloe is not with him. What? In that moment I was like, Hector's mom is insane. Like, you're gonna trust, I know you can trust another woman and all of that because Chloe is a good person, but he is the child's father and you're not even gonna leave him alone, because that's just bullshit in my way of seeing it, because you're putting Chloe in a position that maybe she doesn't want to be. I mean, like, you didn't ask her. She wants to help Mickey see his child, but she is not part of this equation. She is the dad's girlfriend, but she is not the one who has to take on the responsibility of taking care of Mickey's child. Like, I cannot begin to explain to you how surprised I was because of that. Because seriously, you cannot put the responsibility on her, because what if she cannot do it one day? What if they just are not together anymore one day? What if they fight? Then Mickey cannot see his son anymore because you put a condition that he can only see his child while he's with Chloe, which is that, dude, that's a horrible thing to do. And Denise acting throughout this scene, it was amazing, because you can see this moment, when the thoughts going through her head, and how she actually is just so taken aback because of this happening. You can also see Mickey's thoughts on it, like how it affects him, how it sort of breaks him, because there is just this moment in which I cannot trust you enough with your own child, so I have to put a third person in between. And then there's this moment in which you get Denise's thoughts, like, you don't get her thoughts, I mean, like, just her expressions and how physical she is. And this is a thing that it is of beauty, because Denise was amazing throughout the entirety of the movie. Anyways, and this is kind of like near the closing act, well, the fact that they have this condition. But hold on for a moment, because I'm ignoring a very important thing, which is the fact that there was a wedding in this. There was a wedding. I cannot believe that I was forgetting the wedding. It wasn't that important, I guess. Anyways, they go to a wedding and all of that, and in this part of the story they get they basically just run. They meet Christos. I guess that was the name of the jerk, which is a guy which Chloe was having a discussion over the phone at the beginning of the movie. He's basically her ex, and he's a piece of crap. There's no other way to describe it. So Mickey is really pissed off at seeing him, because jealousy, I guess. And then he has a chat with his friend, and he's like, you want to blow this thing up, huh? You want to destroy it and all of that. So then Mickey does something, but before that, something happens between Christos, however his name is, I don't care. He's a jerk. He doesn't deserve to be remembered. Um, which he corners Chloe. This jerk corners Chloe, and he's basically giving her a monologue of how do you think I felt at the moment in which they called me and they told me that the woman that I put in a job, because they broke up and he got her a job because he's like this powerful guy and blah 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 blah, which I don't care about you, but we have to know because it's part of your development and why you're a jerk that you think that you can go around manipulating people and all of that. Anyway, so he does this kind of thing, and he corners her in a way, and then she wants to leave, and he doesn't let her leave. He just grabs her and just has her there for a moment. And that was just a moment in which I was so enraged. You remember that scene of Daenerys on the first season, telling Viserys, "If you ever put a hand on me, it will be the last time you have hands." I have been like that my whole life. Like, if you touch me without my consent, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you touch my hair or a nail or whatever. If you touch me, you're gonna lose your fucking hands. And I cannot believe that most women are not like that, because like, you touch me like that, it doesn't matter how frightening it is at the moment, I'm gonna punch you. But I wanted to be there in that moment and just punch him because he's a jerk and he deserves it. Anyways, she gets away. He doesn't do anything to her, but it's part of why he's just I want to kill him. Anyways, so after Mickey has this conversation with his friend and all of that, he basically goes up and proposes to Chloe, and she's just like don't embarrass me, which is a very that is one of the most truthful things you can find. And this is why I actually love this movie, because there's a whole bunch of tropes that happen throughout the story that they make seem cute for movies, but if they happen to you in real life, you'll be like, what the fuck is happening and why are we letting this happen? Explain to me, how does that work? And that was so embarrassing. Like, if it happened to me in real life, that just this guy goes up to in a scenario and just tells me, starts out with something that it's not a good start, and then he goes like, I want to die with you, Chloe, do you want to die with me, and all that, I would be like so embarrassed, like, the fuck are you doing, pal? The fuck are you doing? So it is taken in a very understandable fashion. So that's pretty much the what you need to know about the wedding. Oh my god, this is so funny. That was so embarrassing. You never have to give impulsive characters alcohol because they do bullshit. Yeah, I say characters as if it didn't happen with people as well. What happens in the last Friday is the most interesting thing of all, let's say. It's just this, I think that it is one of the most raw moments in everything, and it has one of the best things in the movie. Anyways, I'm not gonna recall it like it happened, but they are basically in this moment in which she's, Chloe is all like, well, we can learn these songs that are from a Greek children book, and we can learn all of these songs, so I don't know, you can sing them to Hector, and have a connection with him. And this is where we get confirmation that Mickey doesn't speak Greek. And I was just like, I was rooting for you, you son of a bitch. Like, how? That is a thing that just, you cannot live in a country for 7 years and not learn the language of the country. That is disrespectful to the culture. I will never tolerate that from anyone, not even if I love you. I will not tolerate that. Anyways, let's continue. So they begin to learn, and she begins to try to translate the songs for him, and she tells them, and they sing together and all of that, and they begin getting drunk, blah blah blah, while they're singing. And then she goes like, this is the last weekend in which we get to be like this reckless, so let's go to a club, let's go to a party. They're around Christmas, so let's go to a party and just let's get drunk there, let's do drugs, blah blah blah, which is awesome. Nice. So they are having this very thing that is just like seize the moment, you know, like if you have an idea and you want to just live out, just do it. And well, they go to this party, they get drunk, then she finds drugs, they do drugs. I don't like drugs, so I don't have any good comments on that, but if you're gonna do it, at least do it safely. They are drunk and driving, so I don't know. That's very irresponsible. Okay, so they get kicked out of this place because this other guy was dancing with Chloe, and then Mickey tried to dance with another girl, and then Chloe went to look for him and say, what were you doing? Why were you trying to dance with this little girl? And he was just like, well, you're dancing with him, I'm gonna dance with her. Okay, so if you ask me, it was a fair thing to do. Like, yeah. And when, you know, Chloe searches after him, and she goes back to dancing with Mickey. And then comes the guy that was dancing with her before, and he's just like wanting to find Mickey because she chose to go back with Mickey, but somehow it's Mickey's fault, of course. Somehow. And this guy wants to fight Mickey because, like, yeah, how come you're taking the girl that I was dancing with and all of that and all of that, and I'm just there like, you're the one who is in the wrong because they are a couple and he's in his entire right to dance with his partner. Like, what the fuck? It was such a great confusion in there. So they basically get kicked out because Mickey, being Mickey, starts yelling at this guy, and he's only defending himself, honestly. Like, I'm with him all the way in here. And they get kicked out. And well, they basically go somewhere, and she's like, yeah, I want to fuck me. I want you to fuck me, so yeah, do it. So they go to this place, and they kind of start doing that. And then she's got this moment in which she has to tell him about the abortion and all of that. So it is a very raw moment in which he's like, no, it's okay, don't worry, it's all right. And she's like, but you're allowed to be mad with me, like you have to be angry with me and all of this. And he's just like, no, it doesn't matter, it's just happened, I love you anyhow, and blah blah blah. Well, they go back to the streets, and then she's like, what happened to us? Because they have been having problems all around. And honestly, at this part of the story, I was like, what happened to you is that you're just two normal people. Because she's comparing everything to that first night and the beach and that. And of course, when you meet a person, you're kind of this, you know. Everything is so perfect, and you're falling in love. So good things are happening, and you're happy, and everything is just like pink color, let's say. Everything is good. And then you get to meet a person, you get to meet their bad traits, they get to meet yours, because you go around and you start knowing people for their true colors, not just the ones they want to present to you. So of course there are gonna be things that you're not gonna like about them, and there are gonna be things that they don't like about you. But you know, to me, loving someone is loving them in spite of their flaws. Like, you don't care so much about that. It's just something that happens, because that's what life is all about just finding the balance. Humans are never perfect. So what were you expecting? So she's missing all of these things, and I guess that somehow Mickey misses them too. So she has this idea of, yeah, getting naked, completely naked, and going to the beach. So she gets naked, he gets naked, like top to bottom. They are only wearing socks and shoes, except for her, which is no, but Mickey is also wearing that. So they begin doing that, and they go through. They pass a cop car, and they are stoned, and they are drunk and driving naked. So they begin to get chased, which was super hilarious to me. I don't know the regulations for what happens in Greece, but I am assuming that they are pretty chill people. So if you see someone naked, you're like, what the fuck are you doing? Which is kind of crazy because there was a philosopher who once uh, chained himself or something like that to the middle of a plaza and just was naked and like popping himself. That's what I know about the story. I don't remember which one was. So yeah, but I remember that, and how a culture changes is very interesting. Well, yeah, most people don't welcome nudity, which is alright. Like, I understand that for people it's uncomfortable, especially I don't know if there's children around. It's wrong. It's understandable, but I just found it how funny it was that they were getting persecuted for like 3 cop cars just because they were naked. It was just so hilarious to me because it was like they committed crime to state. But like I'm saying, I don't know the regulations for Greece, so I cannot tell you how much. I just know that it is partially a crime. It is considered a crime because what I've seen, but I don't know the exact regulations because I don't live there. So of course I don't know. I'm ignorant in that. If you know, educate me, please. You're welcome to do so. I just found the scene hilarious. Until what happens next, which is, um, that they get stopped by the police, and Chloe loses her mind in this moment. She starts hitting the police and all of that. So we from this we've learned that we don't have to let Chloe have drugs because she cannot control herself. She's very violent when she does that. So well, anyways, they get stopped and then they get taken to a precinct, and well, the charges are being read and they're gonna be stuck in there for the entirety of the weekend. Which is a problem because they're gonna get out on Monday, and on Monday they have to search for Hector at school, which is like this problem. And I was like, yeah, that's what happens when you don't think about the consequences of your actions. But the whole point of the movie is just to live the moment, no matter what happens next, because you're gonna get through. So it makes sense that they didn't consider the consequences for after. Makes sense. Anyways, so we get to see that it's Monday, and it's the first time in the entirety of the movie in which it's Monday. And we get to see that Chloe gets out of jail and the whole thing. And when she asks her lawyer what happened with Mickey, and they're like, his case has been dismissed. And I was like, what? How come that she was stuck in prison the entirety of the weekend and he wasn't? Like, how does that work? Turns out to be that they actually have this pretty big fight because of that, in which well, Mickey called a few people. He called his friend, and then his friend called Christos or something like that, and basically Christos got Mickey out of jail. But this jerk decided not to get Chloe out of jail, so she had to be there the entirety of the weekend, which was, well, they have a big fight, because like, my story with this guy, and you received his help anyways. Like, how dare you, Mickey? It is a very intense scene, and both Sebastian and Denise were amazing in it. Like, God, god. And Denise's performance in this scene, just this scene, it was so raw and emotional and truthful. You know, like there is a moment in which she's sitting there like trying to breathe through her tears, and I was like, god, that is such a true thing to go through, you know, like when you're crying so much that you're just trying to breathe, and that just the sensation of everything that happened, and I was like, this is great. And this is one of the many reasons why the movie is so amazing, you know, because of how awesome it is to see all of these things, and the acting and the way in which they decided to do things. It's like it will happen in real life, and that was I was so happy because of that. I cannot even explain it to you. I cannot explain it to you. So basically they get through this fight, you know, and all that, and the movie ends with them going to pick up Hector, and just that it was a very nice shot and I was like, you're gonna finish the movie in here? And yes, I do have thoughts. So anyway, this movie was just great from beginning to end, you know. Like I said, it is raw, it is emotional, and it is very truthful. And the thing that I like the most about this movie is that just the realism with which it comes. Because these characters are far from being perfect, and they are far from being like these cutout that comes from movies that just expects perfection and just wants these guys to just be perfect for each other, a match made in heaven and all of that. No, they have problems, you know, and they have issues with themselves, and they have issues in between each other. And it is not a perfect relationship, but it is a relationship in which they both love each other, so they are willing to continue with it and working on it, you know. And I mean, like, we saw just barely 6 months of their relationship, but there's so much for growth in there, you know, and how they both just, even though they are scared, they jump and do the things, you know, and they try to live. And that is a very nice thing to say, to see, because I guess that most people forget day by day, you know, to live and just to do the things that you want to do because you want to do them. It's just do that, do you, be happy, find love, all of these things. So if you see the movie, you're gonna find a whole lot of messages throughout it. What I've got from this is that, yeah, just do the things that you like to do the things that you love, be with the people you love, fight for the people you love, and just enjoy day by day, and just embrace your flaws and embrace your virtues because they are part of what makes you, and do the same to other people. Just take them for what they are, not what you want them to be. Just be, pretty much it. So it was a really nice movie. I'm really glad I watched it, and like I said, I hate romantic movies, but this was such a different take on it, and it was enjoyable, and it made me happy. You know, the relationship is not this dream-like thing, but it is good. It is good, and that's actually great. So, anyways, those are pretty much my thoughts, and yeah, oh, I cannot believe that after talking so much, I have finally come to the end of this. Incredible, yeah. Who would have thought? Anyways, if you're watching this, which is long as fuck, I know, I haven't edited yet, but I know that it's gonna be long because I talk too much. Thank you so much for doing so, because it is incredible that you listen to this point. So if you listen to this point, give it a thumbs up if you want to. Well, subscribe to the channel. You can always recommend on the comments. You can recommend two shows, movies, books, and music. I'm gonna be doing a review of them, and I'm gonna be doing reactions to music and all of that. So yeah, do it. You're free. And well, that has been it. Always remember to be positive, kind, and curious.